Hail and hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Random Heathen Ramblings podcast of Midgard Musings Productions. My name is Jesse, and thank you so much for tuning in and listening and watching today. We hope you enjoy. Get into it. This is one of the newer songs by Donheim called Grima. I say newer, meaning it was released last year, 2020. So, about a year old. Close to a year old. And the name derives from as the description in the video says, an ancient pre-8th century Norse Viking, a personal name, Grima or Grimr, from the old Norse. Grima meaning mask, helmet, or a person wearing a mask, shadow of the night, or the fierce one. Grimir is also a name that is given to Odin. So, yeah. Good stuff. All right. So, yes, hail and welcome back. Like I said, my name is Jesse, and thank you for tuning in and watching and listening to today's podcast, wherever it is that you are absorbing this on. If you are watching this on YouTube, please be sure to give the video a like, share it around, engage in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. If you are streaming or listening to this on any of the other podcast platforms, be sure to upvote it. If you want to send a note in or comment to the podcast via email, you can do so by writing into midgardmusingstn@gmail.com. And then if you also check the show notes or description area of this podcast and the video, wherever, you'll find a Linktree link that provides you with all of my social media information. So if you want to follow me along in my Norse studies or pagan journey, as it were, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter. There is an Instagram, although I don't post there a whole lot or really monitor it that much. And then, of course, YouTube and all these other podcast platforms. So wherever you're listening and watching from in Midgard, hail and hello today. It is now the second week of December 9th. We are closing up on the end of season 2 of the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast. So for all of you across the world who made 2021 an exciting and interesting year of growth for this podcast, a very special hail and thank you to you guys and gals out here. We're going to be welcoming in a guest here on today's episode who has an interesting past or history with myself, Midgard Musings. We've known each other ever since the beginning of Midgard Musings, I think even a little bit before then. And he's provided he's the reason why the Midgard Musings Bindrune exists, the brand, the logo, the double Manas Bindrune. So we're going to be welcoming in the current president of a national organization called the True Community, or TAC for short. So Topher Henry is the president of this organization, and we're going to be rambling on with him a bit today, talking about various heathen related things. I know very recently, probably one of the biggest quote unquote claims to fame that the organization has is that Topher was recently involved or interviewed, I guess you could say, by journalists with The Guardian over some very interesting things going on in North America. There was a recent piece done, I guess you could say, on the AFA, and Topher and other, I guess, members of TAC were involved to a degree on what this piece was about and some of the goings on up in the Midwest. So I'm not going to go into too much detail right now. We'll go ahead and start our intro and then welcome in Topher for him to kind of give us a background of that and talk about some other things and kind of see where the ramblings go. So let's get into today's episode. So like I said, I'm excited to talk with Topher today because, I know the organization TAC has come under a variety of scrutiny over the years. I know that leadership has changed with the organization to some degree, and it's going to be interesting. This is a very unscripted and very organic sort of thing. You guys know from tuning in, listening in, just how organic it is. There's very little script that goes into this. It's free form, it's random. We're going to just kind of see where things go with it. And hopefully we're going to learn some things and enjoy each other's company and, see that sort of stuff. So let's welcome in from TAC, the Also True community, the president, Topher Henry. All right, folks. Well, welcome to the show, Topher from the Also True community, TAC. Hail and welcome to the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here to speak to you again. It's been a while since we chatted.
I know. I was saying a little bit before. I always do like a little, intro to just kind of give people like all the housekeeping stuff. Like, hey, go check out my this, and I check out my that, the comments, description, the blah, all the housekeeping stuff, and I, just kind of segue into this with everybody. We've got a little bit of a history, you and I, that goes back to even before the Midgard Musings days, and I wanted to just remind. Well, you probably haven't forgotten, but remember this?
Oh yeah, I do. Nice to see you still have that.
Yep. So this, I was telling the viewers and listeners before you came on that, Topher here is the reason why the Midgard Musings brand has a bind room, the double Manas bind room. Like you came up with that and gifted this. This is one of the first things that I ever got for like the channel, or in the very, very early days, right when I first started.
It was like me and 15 other people, I think. Then.
Yeah. Yep. It was that small group, and then it's come to be what it is now. The currently, the YouTube channel is 44 going on 4,500
That's
subscribers, and the community is growing and on the social media side, and that's really a lot to do with not just you, but like everyone's involvement, being involved and wanting to see things and asking for things. But I wanted to show that to you because I still have it. It actually,
that's great. You still know that.
Yeah, it actually sits on my altar.
Nice.
There's a place of it on my altar. So in some videos, if I pan down to it, it might come up there, but it's had a place. Although my altar, has somewhat changed in its construction over the years and the format of it all, it's always been on there somewhere. So
very cool, man. I appreciate that. That's very cool. Yeah, it just seemed like that was just perfect for, Midgard Musings. That just seemed to work. The meaning of Manas and everything in there, just very, very appropriate, I would say. Sit down over here. So.
Yeah, it does. It makes it, I think the, like you said, the meaning of the word, obviously the M meaning of it, what Manas represents, the M sound, right? So Midgard Musings, double M, it just makes like literal sense. But the I guess the esoteric or spiritual meanings of the runes, however far you want to look into it, and me being into that, like I haven't always in my heathenry always been into the runes, but for the larger period of time that I have been heathen, the runes have always played a strong role in my belief structure.
Well, I think when another thing I just remembered from, I believe it was the package that I sent that to you in, I wrote the entire letter in Elder Futhar.
Yep. So imagine me, right, at the time where I'm like very young into like learning the runes and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, so, and then then trying to transliterate the modern English into Elder Food Library, which was used to write in a Proto-European, Proto-Indo-European language. It's like that was a fun project, I guess, to read that whole letter and stuff. So I may have even, if I remember correctly, tried to. I'd have to go back through my video catalogs and see. And I know I have the letter somewhere. I'll find it. Maybe do a video where I read it again. But I was like trying to read it on video.
Yeah. Because I think you opened the package, or at least like opened it all up and tried to read
on
it
camera.
Live on camera.
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Because I do. I remember it now. I was like, uh-oh. I guys, I may have to come back to this, because I was like, what am I reading here? trying to like know what the letters, the runes represent phonetically, and sounding it all out. It was like, I'm gonna have to come back to this. So I don't know if I ever did, to be honest. I may have to revisit that. But yeah, you sent me all kinds of goodies too. There was like some food items and stuff from
I mean
spicy
honestly
or something. It was neat.
To let you know, I think you've done an amazing job with this channel, and what you're continuing to do with the random ramblings here. And not just because you've been open to a bunch of different point of views, you're open to discussing different point of views and different, even belief systems, not because just of that, but because you've done all of that without excluding anyone or disrupting Frith. You keep it frithful, man, and I really appreciate that. I think you do a great job of that. So, I know that you've had a storied history a little bit with the Asatru community. Were you actually ever a member for any amount of time? I know you were a partner at one point.
Yeah, so I don't recall ever signing up as a charter member or as a for lack of a better term, a paid member of the organization. I did initially, to kind of team up as a partner there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then just, I think where I was going in my spirituality and my growth, I was like, this isn't really where I'm. Not that it wasn't like a welcoming place. I was just finding a different direction to go in my belief. And I was learning it in a way that I was like, I don't really see myself here doing the thing with TAC in that capacity at that moment. And so I kind of just went off. But no, I don't remember ever becoming a member. I remember getting the partnership letter or something in the mail. But since then, I know, like I alluded to it before you came on here, that there's been a significant change or at least leadership structure to the organization, and you currently are the organization's president, right?
That is correct. And as of pretty much the first of the year, I will not only be the president, but the sole owner of the Asatru community. We've already transferred basically the title of everything over from California here to Indiana, where I live. And moving forward, that's where the Asatru community will be based. Seth Chagi, our founder, his path has, branched off. He's going for a full-time student, getting his master's degree in paleoanthropology, which is another big passion of his. And, it's just, March of 2022 will be 10 years from the date in which he founded the Asatru community as a 16-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was that, I didn't know that it's been a decade now in its growth.
Yeah. So, and there's been a lot of changes on the board. We've had some people had to step down. Alex Day, who's been our board director for quite a while, he had to step down due to some family and physical issues that he's working through. But I'm really happy with and think that our current board that we have, we're going to do some great things. We did some really amazing things just this past year, like the biggest thing for us, I think, is the CFC program that we got set up with, which the Combined Federal Campaign, which is, for those that don't know, it's basically like United Way for all federal workers, military, first responders, those type of people. The Ostricher community is now the first heathen religious organization that is in that catalog that military members and police officers and are all part of that can actually donate to. That, I believe, is going to go a long way from taking us from what has always been a large gathering of people on the internet that get together in their own little pockets and communities to establishing like our first official foothold and have an actual HOF where people can come from all over the country. Especially one that allows anyone to come through those doors would be nice, instead of a fourth one from the AFA anytime soon.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a little while, I think, because you had a role in a recent journalist piece, I guess you should call it, or interview that The Guardian did, that was they were talking to members of the AFA, and there was that church that they just opened. I think it's in Minnesota, or
Murdoch, Minnesota.
Yeah, and you and some other TAC members or representatives went up there as sort of like a anti-protest or a peaceful protest against what they and made a stand.
We did
about that, and I think it's important, because the public image of Germanic heathenry, whether it's Scandinavia, whether it's mainland Germania, whether it's whatever portion of Northern Europe you kind of find yourself gravitating towards, has this to the uneducated, to the untrained eye, just has this stigma attached to it. And having people come up there to not just, I'm sure you probably didn't do it for the views or for the publicity, but the fact that it got that much publicity is important, I think, for the future of heathenry to an important degree. It's so much of what people find online and encounter online is exactly that. It's all social media, it's all this internet.
That's what you search when you search for anything heathenry, Asatru. The first thing that you're going to get is the AFA or someone like them.
Right.
We've had this thing with TAC for a long time. We call our shield wall. And, we've raged against the machine online as much as we can, and, didn't do much anything good on there other than making, different people angry and, leave in anger and slam the door behind them and stuff. But, I thought it was high time that we actually put the shield wall into action. We do have to walk a fine line with us being, a 501 3C religious organization, about what we do that is considered political, which if you watch that video, it's very interesting that the people from the AFA bring up, why are people bringing politics into our religion? It's like, no, that's what you're doing. But, I reached out to people within our community, because, the last thing I wanted to do was to get people together and have it be unorganized and have people feel like they are being forced to be there. I wanted people to be there that really wanted to stand up against, racial bigotry and heathenry in any form. Another large group, most of them were TAC members as well, but I do have to give a major shout out to the Wolves of the North Kindred, because there was about 8 members from the Wolves of the North Kindred that were part of that protest there as well. We talked to a lot of people. there was my favorite part of the day was honestly when somebody drove by. First, they drove by flipping us off and honking their horns at us. And we're standing there with rainbow flags and love signs everywhere. But then they circled the block and came back around, and he like slowed down enough to where one guy could yell out the window at. So I just kindly walked up to the window and, did not go at them with any anger or anything. It's like, his whole thing is what happened? What about, freedom of religion? And I said, I am absolutely for freedom of religion, but I'm against any religion that excludes people, especially for their race. Yeah. And there was 4 people in this car. One of them was Hispanic. And they all said they didn't know that, which I found that a little hard to believe, because I know there was lots of protests in there in the city and stuff before that. But, different people hear different things, I guess. But anyway, right. I informed them of that. And I said, your friend, I'm assuming is, Hispanic of some kind. I said, he would not be welcome in that church. He wouldn't even be allowed to sit down with them. Even if he follows heathenry and has followed it for decades, you're not allowed in that building. And they didn't know that. And, they brought up some points about things which, for a community, I know makes a big deal. Because they brought up that he said, there's this huge Catholic church just down the street. They never do anything for the community. He said, but this church comes in and they start doing food drives and things like that, and buying coats for people and buying shoes for people. And I'm like, I am absolutely for people doing that kinds of things. I am not saying that's a bad thing, but you got to understand that this is what they do when they come into a community. It's an agenda. They come in, we're going to make good with the community by, doing a soup kitchen or a food drive or a coat drive or something like that. And we're just not going to talk about what we're doing back there behind
closed doors.
Yeah. And, so having those opportunities to talk to people like that and let people know that it was better. And then, the Guardian thing, which they both came about together at just about the same time, because it was an editor and the reporter who interviewed me in there that just randomly contacted me through Facebook Messenger, and they had searched for different heathen communities and found my name and stuff. So that's how they got me. And then we had a call just like this, and they asked me if I was interested in it, but they didn't tell me at first that it was going to have anything to do with the AFA. They told me that it was going to be just about heathenry in the United States, which, yes, it is about heathenry in the United States.
Right.
But, I didn't know that going in. It wouldn't have made a difference. But, I told them I was definitely up for speaking to them. And they asked me if there was any type of event that we were doing that I was going to be at, where other heathens would be, that they could speak to. And I was like, well, I've got 2 events coming up. I've got the Northern European Religious Festival, which is in Springville, Indiana, which I go to every year. I'm going to be at that. And then in the first week of July, I'm going to Minnesota to protest against the AFA. And they were like, okay, great. And then that's when I found out that really the documentary is more about the AFA and as they titled it. I mean, it's literally titled "The Last All-White Church in the United States," and it was about them. I was very happy to be, my part in there, to show people that, first of all, there's more of us out there than there are of them by a long shot. It's not even close. I mean, we're at over 5,000 members. They've got like 900 total. Of course, how many of those are not signed up anywhere, we don't know, but
undocumented, as it were.
Right, exactly. But I know that there's a lot more of us out there than there is them, and I wanted to do as much as I can to make sure that when people want to learn more about Asatru or Northern European paganism, the AFA isn't the first damn thing that shows up when they search for it,
Right. Well, some of the things that I wanted to key in on with regards to this, all of this, we talked earlier, and you kind of, and I want to just, say thank you for your recognition of what I do and the inclusion or inclusiveness that I harbor, right? Because I feel that once again, the doors are open to anyone that's willing to want to learn and participate, with the exclusion of any sort of hatred and bigotry and those sort of things. I've made that stand. I've been very clear about that. And whether I've signed a digital document or I've said it on a video or whatever the case may be, like it's clear what my personal stance is, and Midgard Musings as a brand, or what I do out here is not to exclude people based off of their race or their heritage. And I think what a lot of people get hung up on is they try to put a shoe on a foot that doesn't fit. They try to say that, oh, well, there's other cultures that have, closed rituals and closed belief systems, and it's excluded. They're exclusive. They don't include people outside of that thing. And it's like, yeah, but you got to understand what that is. It's tribal traditions. It's tribal things. And whether it's the Sami out of Sweden or whether it's indigenous Native Americans, those various tribes, those are different. There is no real, with the exception of maybe the Sami people, there is no, that I know of at least, any examples of closed religious ceremonies in Germanic paganism. Usually, even in pre-Christian times, the public, the bloats, the rituals that were held were community events. It was everybody in the area, and there were other people that were included in it as well. Now, what was done in each individual hearth or each individual home, or maybe in each individual tribe, because don't forget, you look at the Germanic peoples like the Cherokee and some of these other Germanic tribes that were spread out all across Germania. And Tacitus even writes about it. It's like, yeah, they had their customs, they had their ways, and they had their things that they did that were maybe different than another tribe or another group.
Right.
That's different. It's like they weren't exclusive because they looked different, or they had a different skin color, or they couldn't trace their ancestry back to blah blah blah. None of that, baloney. And so it's like you're comparing apples to oranges, and you're putting shoes again. You're trying to fit shoes on feet that just don't fit.
Yeah.
And that's,
if I haven't shared this with you, I would like to take the opportunity. To me, the reasons against that were explained never more perfectly than when I had the opportunity to speak with members of the Asatru Fellowship in Iceland.
The Asatru Fellowship, is that?
Yes, yeah. Got to sit down like a whole afternoon. They have just like an open hall where you can come into. On Saturdays they have coffee and donuts, and you can come in there and sit and chat. And they were kind enough to invite us in, and it saddened me, first of all, that their impression of American Asatru was that we're all racist. And they were very excited to hear, though, that the group that I was part of, and at the time I was an ambassador, that we had at that point almost 4,000 members, and we are completely inclusive like they are. They didn't even know there were inclusive heathens in the United States. And when we started talking about that, the gentleman that I was speaking to about it, he said, this is how we look at it. The gods that we worship are many different races. There's Aesir, there's Vanir, there's the Roker, there's elves, there's dwarves, giants, Jotun, all these different races that we worship and venerate. So why would I tell any other race that they couldn't worship these gods that are of multi-races too? It makes zero sense. Yeah. But to me, that just.
So you got to go to Iceland.
I did
be a part of their like open hall, like you say, or their. Yeah. And see, that's kind of one of the things that I really love to see more of. And unfortunately, with the way the world has gone in the last like 2 years now, almost with the pandemic, like public moots, meetups, things where you can just have a welcome and open. It's like open door policy, anybody and everybody, whether you're pagan or not, if you're curious, maybe you're not sure if you want to branches, or you just like, who are these people and what are they about? And you want to just come and have, some coffee, or you want to grab a bite to eat, or we're just sitting here, just socializing, and you want to know who we are, like come and meet us, the people in your community sort of thing. Because we're all over. And there's again, the pandemic kind of put a halt to that for a little while, but there's so much value to that, I feel, because again, it's not just about what you do with your close immediate people, it's your impression of the community or on the community, right? Because we walk around with hammers around our necks, or we different trinkets or symbols and amulets and whatever, and that again, to the untrained or uneducated eye, could raise some eyebrows. What are you about? What do you think? And they're conversation starters for sure. So having that public presence,
that's you mentioned about TAC changing, and that's really from. I've been officially been the president now for I think it's 2 years officially now. All this time doesn't mean much of anything more right now.
Yeah.
But it's been 2 years, and my mission from the get-go has been, I called it the season of Frith, and it's been about building Frith with other like-minded communities, which is why I wanted to go and speak, and I still continue to build a bridge with the Asatru community in Iceland, but the fact that there's other large groups out there that are like-minded like this, that have been backfighting for silly, stupid reasons for so long. I've been working my hardest to fix a lot of that, and I think fruition is coming this July. Something I've been working on for quite a while is bringing TAC and the Troth together.
Wow.
The Troth is the reason I'm Asatru. I found them before I found anything else. I purchased their books, and that's how I learned Asatru. And when I became a TAC member, when I found out that there was like some type of, bad blood between the two groups, I never understood it. And it comes down to, individuals that, and, in most cases, those individuals aren't around anymore. And so for our communities continue to not work together towards a common goal just seems like madness to me. So I'm working on getting an official invite to Trothmoot in July. I've been speaking to one of their steersmen, actually one of their steersmen and a former steersman over the last couple months, and looks like it's definitely going to happen. So I want to get down there and spread some frith and get to know some of their members and talk more about what we can do combined to fight against the stigma that is stuck to our communities.
That's great that you guys are partnering up and have that opportunity. And there's one thing, and I can't help but like avoid this part of the conversation there, and there's so much that I keep keying in on that I'm like, given enough time and given enough, we could probably go on forever about various topics of and whatnot, but it's almost like we got to address an elephant in the room.
Sure.
And we talk about the way TAC has been viewed or seen over the years, and because of the association of certain people or members or former members or former leaders, even members of the board, and where they've come from and what they've done and their association with TAC, and how that's tarnished or soiled the public view of TAC as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't like to name names, but anybody that's I'll just say it, like Ivy Mulligan was on this channel. She wasn't on a podcast, but she was on this channel some time ago, way before things took a sour turn. And I did like an EPC, I did an emergency press conference about some behavior that transpired and things that Ivy did. And of course it came out where her involvement with TAC and maybe even the Troth at some point. And there was a lot of misinformation that got shared and some clarifications and stuff that brought up. But suffice it to say, it was I redacted any involvement and said, look, I don't condone anything of what she had said and some of these alleged messages and so on and so forth. And there, now that you're here as a leader of TAC and as a representative of TAC, you probably have some things to say to that or want to say. It's kind of like we got to address it, right? It's
sure.
Maybe not something I wanted to necessarily harp on or really beat to death, but I'm sure everybody listening and watching is like, oh yeah, by the way, let's talk about this. Let's mention it. So
I am both glad to address and sad to address, I guess would be the best way to put that.
Yeah, because it was a sad situation, but I mean, it was a terrible situation.
It definitely was.
Horrible, actually. But
yeah. And, I will start this entire thing out with, which I'm sure, this will get back to her and she'll probably send me a bunch of nasty messages again. But first and foremost, Ivy Mulligan was a friend of mine for a long time. I think that, the potential for us continuing to be friends is probably pretty low because of her steadfast stick-to-itiveness to standing up for what she said and just put out there. And for me personally, I can't condone that. And what I said to her before it exploded, and we had to do what we had to do, which I'll discuss that. But I said to her, I've been in a lot of fights, both verbal and physical. And one thing I've never done is use racial epithets against somebody, no matter how angry I am at them. To me, if you're using that, it's in your heart. And then when you're confronted with it, if you don't immediately apologize and say, I'm sorry, I was just really angry. But instead you say, I stand by what I said because I was standing up for my friend. I told her there's no way for me to return from that, Ivy. Yeah. I can't support that in any way or form. And, that's how I left it with her. And then, we did as a community what we had to do. Immediately we had to say we had to remove her from everything. Or, she had her hands in a lot of things with TAC because she helped build our clergy training program. She helped with a lot of the bloats and stuff like that we had posted. Let alone the fact, she's out there and she was doing a lot of things and was a pretty well-known person in the pagan heathen community. We had to get out in front of that and say that we absolutely do not condone that, any of her actions and any of her words and what she said. And, had to remove her from everything that we could as quickly as we could. But, be transparent with our community and be there to answer questions from them. And one thing that, didn't get out very probably outside of TAC very much, which I don't think many people know, is the fact that Ivy had written had completed her translation of the Voluspa, which we were printing. After a year and a half of working on this with her, with 3 other authors who I could never get a hold of because they were in Europe or something, we finally got it to where I was okay with everything that was in there. It was at the printer, it was ready to be printed. I called her on a Wednesday to say, hey, got the Voluspa at the printer, they're ready to go. I was going to be seeing her the following month, thought I would have a copy in hand because she had that big gathering that I guess she ended up still having, but I was supposed to be attending that as well. And literally 3 days later, I had to shut all of that down immediately.
Because of this whole event that we're alluding to, talking about.
Absolutely could not publish a book by Ivy Mulligan after that. And it cost our community almost $3,000 because all that money was already into the, printing and making of the books. I had them destroy like 500 copies that were already completed. So, that's neither here nor there, but, from a community standpoint, her actions, affected us from that. If it wasn't for that, we probably would still have money in our coffers to be able to assist people, because we do have things like our emergency relief fund, which we help out members of our community that need it. But yeah, it was a horrible, horrible situation. And I really feel, to me, it's like one of my good friends died because,
Well, it almost segues into kind of one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, because you've mentioned so many times here on this podcast and talking about Frith, right? Mm-hmm. And, we're in a season of Frith and spreading Frith and whatnot. And one of the things that at least I've come to learn over the years is what Frith really means. It's not so much the peace and the friendship and the getting along of things. Like there's parts of Frith that is definitely about, because you kind of have to get along with people to have Frith and to weave Frith. And that's one of the things I wanted to key in on, right? It is a weaving of Frith. It is a work to establish Frith, and it's a work to maintain Frith. And something like what you're talking about, Topher, with the severance of Ivy from, like, you knew her for years, friends, that was a breach of Frith. That was a breaking of Frith, because with Frith comes trust and obligation. There's inherent trust and obligation that's tied to the real meaning of Frith. It's like one of those words that you can't completely summarize into just one thing. It means so many things.
It's like aloha.
Right. Yeah.
It can mean so many things, and it is. But all of it, although it does mean so many different things, you have to have, as you're saying, all of those pieces working together for there to be. Because I think the foundation of Frith is community, and being, whether that's being nice to the neighbor or stuff like that. I think the foundation of Frith is building your community.
There's definitely a lot to it. It's, for example, I got to kind of get along with my neighbors and not, blast my music too loud or leave my yard looking like trash, because they share a spatial area with me. So it's kind of like, it's almost like, we talk about these heathen words. There's a word called grith. Mm-hmm. And when you look back at the Icelandic All thing, where there was a large gathering of people, not just tribes gathering, but like regional gatherings together, and it's all in one place. Like, you guys all got to play nice in the sandbox together, right? You can't be coming in here and wanting to cut off Bjorn's head because he stole your cow 6 months ago. Right. And this, like, we're here, we're working all these things out. There's a ceasefire. There's this just general peace establishment of grith. So I feel like grith is kind of this whole community thing. Like, we got to be nice to each other to a degree, to want to be able to grow and to establish those tribal connections, those family, like extensions of family, which is what I feel you were describing. Like with Ivy, it was X amount of years of friendship that suddenly was just like somebody just came in with an axe and just hacked its head off or cut a limb off so violently because of that egregious act of hatred. It's like, it doesn't matter how much friendship and all the ties and things that we've had over the years. You broke Frith there, and sometimes Frith can't be repaired. Sometimes it can.
I mean,
sometimes things just can't be abided, and you can't.
It takes a minimum of 2 willing participants.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah, you can be the one that wants to, and I've had that too with like, family, like literal blood.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of us in our respective pagan communities and circles have experienced that very thing where you are ostracized and you are hated basically for your beliefs and for standing up for your beliefs and not being hateful towards those family, wanting to be peaceful and wanting to maintain those bonds, those familial bonds, and they're just not willing. They're just like, no, I can't do it. You believe in this, you believe in that, and therefore you can't jive with me, and I can't, but why should that fall on us? Again, it's the whole like inclusiveness about it. Like, I'm willing to live peacefully with you at the Grithstead level, right? If we can just respect one another, that's Grith. That's you.
Right.
We don't have to necessarily like each other very much, but we got to respect each other at those boundaries.
Right. We have to at least agree not to kill each other.
Yeah.
During Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Right. Stuff like that. I see stuff like
that's a good point. I like that. I like that. It's a good thought.
But I think you probably see it too, right? We see a lot of things online with people asking questions like, "Hey guys, my family doesn't like that I am a heathen or a pagan, and we got Thanksgiving or the Christmas holiday or some family a funeral." I've seen this too, like where people are questioning whether they should show up to their grandmother's funeral because their family's Christian and it's in a Catholic church, and they're like, "Am I going to anger the gods?" And I'm sitting there going, what do the gods even care about that? That's your family, man. Like, do it for them. Do it out of respect and out of maintaining the Grith, at least the peaceful ceasefire nature of things. And why would you want to just sever ties with your family because well, it's a church and I don't like it?
Right.
Like, don't be like that, man. Don't go down that road.
Well, that's very similar. I did a quick pop-up video with the community on Halloween, and I brought that up as an example of a holiday that heathens don't technically celebrate. However,
depends on the time of year or
right.
I mean, depends on when it falls.
There's days maybe that will cross over there.
Yeah.
But that stuff like that, I think it's ridiculous for us to take ourselves away from it just simply because you don't believe a Christian belief. I do Christmas, I call it Yule, but we give gifts. It's just like Christmas. It's about community, it's about family, and that's all part of Rith, all of that. That's makes me
I've gone to enough family gatherings of my wife's side, especially, who are definitely not pagan, and when you go to their house, it's like, to me, you respect the rules of the hall. You give the proper amount of respect to the host and stuff of the hall, just as you would in ancient times. When you visit another tribe or whatever, you're going to respect them. So if they want to say, lead a prayer to their God and stuff, just, you don't have to say amen or whatever, but just be respectful. I mean, just, what are you going to do? Just stand there and shut up. Like, how is that going to hurt you?
Right.
And
fine for 30 seconds, you'll be fine.
Right. So, and just be respectful. Right. And that's what I was also, as we kind of like look towards, as I was like looking at the time, I'm like, man, the time is just flying by and I don't want to take up more of yours than what it is. But, one of the things I think that a lot of people maybe get hung up on, maybe not hung up on, maybe that's not the right word, but that, these larger organizations, and TAC is definitely in that arena, of a large national organization. Where do you guys stand on the values of building your own traditions, your own communities, right? Because TAC is a national organization. It's like, if I'm a part of TAC and I'm also a part of the, the Wolves of the North Kindred or whatever, right? Is there any conflict there? Does it make any difference? And do you guys see that the Future of Heathenry really lies at the tribal level, at the group level. Like you can be inclusive in a larger organization and help out in the organization and be that sort of boots on the ground representation, if you will, of a larger organization, but don't neglect and don't uh shy away from the
Yeah.
importance of establishing and building your localized grassroots level heathenry stuff. Where do you feel that TAC kind of sits with that, if you can
How
speak
about
to
I
it?
give you a perfect world scenario?
Yeah, even better.
In my perfect world scenario, the Asseter community would be a resource. Um, our members would have or would be part of kindreds in their local communities. Um, and the Asseter community is there um, to assist, to help people learn. One of the things that we're working on, because we do have a kindred program where each kindred that's affiliated with TAC would have a TAC ordained clergy member in their kindred. Um, so in that perfect world, TAC would be part of these kindreds all over the country, the world. Um, we would support them, and we would begin having centralized locations, HOFs throughout the country. Um, I'm currently building one on my property. I have a huge barn, and the top floor of it is all HOF right now.
Wow.
Um, but I don't want that to be the permanent place. I want to have a place here, and Indiana's a good spot for central to the country. But to have an actual HOF, a temple, if you will, where members can come to, where there's weekly, monthly bloats and things like that, seasonal bloats held from there, and eventually be on the East Coast, West Coast, and go from there. But more than anything, what I push and tell everyone that we're not going to do it alone. Number one, and that means including our pagan friends. So I'm part of a community that's the Ohio Pagan Alliance, which has 15 different types of pagan religious
Oh yeah.
representatives in it, and they get together in different spots around the tri-state area around Ohio and do events and things. So I think that type of stuff, working with our pagan communities, being there as a learning and a support. And I always tell people with anything when it comes to your religion, your faith, intent is always the most important thing. So it's not that you have, 1,000, $200 statues and all this stuff around and this massive altar kit. It can be literally a stick and your intent, and that's a bloat. So, but we want to be there to be as a resource for these people, and to there's so many more of us out there that are just hiding and not
Looking for things, right? Looking for
yeah, and
that
looking for
inclusiveness.
things, and just looking I mean, the I've one of my favorite things as the president is bringing somebody that has been a solo heathen for a while into their first group gathering. I mean, it's like mind blowing. And, I like to spread more of that kind of stuff. So,
Because I mean, look, like, and I was telling this to somebody else the other day, a fellow heathen. He's been on the podcast before. He's chieftain to a neighboring tribe here in our area in Middle
okay.
Tennessee. He's chieftain of it's Raven Moon Hearth is the
Okay.
is the group. But we were talking because he's got years of different pagan kind of exposure and stuff under his belt. But I was telling him, I said, the Christians have church, and Muslims have their mosques, and Jews have, or Jews have temple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have a central location to gather with the like-minded people of their religion. And so much of paganism, whether it's Germanic paganism or Hellenistic or any other sort of regional or cultural polytheistic belief has that too. So if you're stuck in an area where you feel like you are solitary because there's nobody else around you like you, you're just not looking hard enough, or you don't know the kind of people that are around you. They're out there. Trust me. You just got to put your feelers out there. And I think that, for folks that are looking for, Germanic heathenry or Norse heathenry or whatever regional name you want to put to it, I think that that's a good place that organizations like TAC, TAC can help with resources in your area. Right. I mean, so you guys have networks, and then that's part of it. We do live in a digital age. It's the information age. Everybody's going to Google something, going to get on Facebook, look for a group in their area, or a Discord server or something. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely a place for it now and today. What there is always still a place for, and whatever kind of paganism you follow, I think there's always has to be a place for tribe, whatever name you want to put to it, your kindred, your coven, your whatever. Like, you've got to have people around you, because you can be a solitary practitioner for years and years, and you can have those enlightening experiences with your deities and with your ancestors and with the localized spirits of the realm, the whites and the Beiti or whatever. But man, when you get in together with a group and you tie those threads and you share weird with each other that way, there's nothing like it. Like, I can say for a fact that the rituals that I've held with my tribe and the brothers of my tribe, like, you can't replicate that online. You can't come close to it. Like, there's no way that you can even feel the same feeling without being there in person. And that's what I want more people to feel as well.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what the religious views are, regardless of whether it's, Odin or that you hail, or whether it's Zeus, or whether it's any of the other, like, just whatever gods you want to call to, or that you feel called to have a pagan community, have a group, have a community that you can share all that stuff with.
Absolutely. Well, that's, and I'm actually going to be bringing this up with, I do a monthly fireside chat with the community, and I'm going to be bringing up something along those lines in the next one, because it recently came to my attention that there was a former board member that left because they felt that why are we even trying to build a Hof? We're just an internet religious community. To which my main response was, because I want to be more than an internet religious community. I want to be a local, touch my community, hold hands with my community in a circle, and praise the gods with with my community. I want to be more than that. So,
that's great.
Definitely want to be more than just an internet.
That's great. And there'll be guys, listening and watching and stuff. There'll be information for you to learn more about what Topher and TAC does. So, they're online. Of course, there's Facebook, but they have a website. All that stuff will be linked in the show notes or the description of the video, however you're receiving this podcast. Just check those respective areas for, the site links, because you might can find something in your area if you're looking. There may be resources out there that TAC can help with.
Yeah, one thing that we did do recently is we purchased one of those online member map things. So our members that are okay with other local heathens reaching out with them are on that member map, and it's worldwide. So that's definitely an excellent resource for our members as well.
Well, very cool. And I know, Indiana's really not even that far away from, like, I'm in Middle Tennessee, just a little bit east of Nashville. So might find my way up there one day soon, or at some point. It's not that far. Never know.
You should definitely try to make it up to, well, if not the Hof, definitely try to make it up to Nerf. I think you would really enjoy the Nerf festival up here. It's really great group, and that's where
it's all getting nerfed together, right?
Yeah. Really excellent group of people, though. I think it was my 5th year in a row going out there this past year. Well, would have been fifth.
Yeah.
There was one year I missed.
It's a big thing, right? Like it's like camping and
yeah,
all
I
kinds
mean,
of stuff going on there. Workshops, I guess, right?
Yeah, like from like Thursday through Sunday, there's camping. We have a large community feast on Saturday night. TSC was going to be providing that this year. They have every day. There's learning events. There's Heathen games. They keep track of Heathen game score, so we have an ultimate Heathen game champion at the end, which is pretty cool. And most importantly, there's multiple bloats and rituals held every day, including a main one around the big fire every night. And if you're cool enough to get there on a Thursday night, around midnight, we start with Heathen karaoke. So
nice. Nice, man. Bring your drums, bring your
That's
fiddle,
right.
bring your whatever, right? Let's just have a good old time with it. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, Nashville around here does.
You're welcome to be a partner again with us at any time you feel free to, but that door is always open within our community. And I know that there are many members of our community that very much enjoy your podcast and everything that you put out there.
I appreciate it, sir. I will definitely keep it in mind. And I say I've never shut a door with you guys. I don't feel like I haven't, at least anyway. No. It was amicable. You know, I was just like, hey, not for me right now. I've got other things I'm focusing on, and it was very, very wholesome in that way. So I appreciate the vote of confidence and whatnot. But yeah, you know, so you know, we got Nerf there. That's an annual thing. We do something around here. Not we like, but I'm saying like in the Nashville, there's a pagan unity festival. They call it Puff. So Raven Moonhearth, one of the guy that I was telling you about, you know, he's a chieftain for that kindred or whatever. They're usually a part of it. I've been a part of the Nashville Pagan Pride thing here once or twice, and then when COVID hit, and so we did it all virtual, and I was like, I don't really want to really do that. It's not really for me that way. But yeah, so this was a lot of fun. I hope it was fun for you. I enjoyed, just kind of talking around the virtual fire, as it were, and getting some conversation circulating around different things. But yeah, if you want to, as I wrap things up, if you want to just chill for a second, I'll touch base with you offline. But
okay.
Thank you, Topher, for taking the time this evening to say some things and offer your insight on stuff for everybody that's watching, listening, whatever. TAC's information is going to be posted in the show notes or the description. So check him out online, at the very least, and see if there's things that you may want to find out more about that they can offer in your area, or just to know, get in the know. We'll post the Guardian thing too. The video for that will be posted as well. So you guys want to check out that documentary about the jerks in the AFA and what Topher and them had to say to make it so much better. Definitely check it out.
My part starts about 11 minutes in.
It's not very long. I don't think it doesn't take up a long time. It'll be shorter
like
than
17 minutes total. Yeah. But I definitely, everyone should check that out.
Sweet. Well, thank you again, sir. And thank you to everybody for, tuning in today.
I'm definitely willing to come back anytime you want to chat, my friend.
Sweet. Well, definitely keep it in mind. It's an open door. I appreciate the feeling is mutual. So everybody, thank you for, tuning in today. Be sure to upvote the podcast, like the video, share it around, comment, interact, however you want to show your support to Midgard Musings and the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast. Definitely do that in whichever way that you are comfortable with. There's merchandise that you can buy through our spring store. It's all going to be linked in our Linktree link that's posted in the description and show notes everywhere on this whole thing. So appreciate you all. And until we all talk again on the next episode, hail, stay well, and may your hearth fires always continue to burn bright.
Hail.